this is a story like any other story of someone who was looking for success and instead they found something else. I grew up with a lot of limitations. My parents were refugees, or partially refugees, because at least they managed to have a humble roof above our heads. We didn't have much, but we had a piano, and my mom played it. And at the age of 6, me and my older sister started playing it as well. That was music. Growing up, feelings were something like a taboo. Nobody in the house would ever say, I feel like. It felt like it was something for the other, cooler, better, more privileged people. Weirdly, not us. Thanks to my mother, I started taking piano lessons. I would spend my afternoons at the music school where she taught, and at the music school concerts, I would see the older students moving their heads and bodies while they were playing the piano. And I would wonder, why are they doing this? It took me a long time to realize they were feeling the music. They were feeling something that was moving their bodies. Years later, I allowed music to move my body as well, a bit. I was about 15 or so. At the age of 18, I found myself in the army with not much to do. I joined the army band and I managed to learn a few new instruments. At the same time, I started writing my first songs about a life imagined, not yet experienced. I flirted with the idea of becoming a songwriter. Because of the music I grew to like was from famous people that I would see in magazines or listen to on the radio and see on TV, I developed this belief that to be a musician, you had to be famous, a star. So it wasn't only about how to learn this or that instrument or how to write songs. It was also, how do I get to be as famous as those people? That was my measuring stick. And from then on, everything I did, every little glimpse of success I had would be measured against the best. And the comparison would always leave me being the loser. Consequently, this led me to always feel that I'm not good enough. At the age of 20, I found myself as a student at Berklee College of Music in Boston. There was vastness for the eye to see, and it created space in me. There were so many new experiences and so much music around, and I took it all in. There was academic learning, but at the same time, I was taking frequent visits to a yet unknown creative world. My rooted belief that I wasn't good enough was continuously battling with my will to learn and evolve, to grow and mature as a musician, as a human being. 2 years later, I dropped out to return home. My pride was informing me that there was nothing else for me to learn from there. I was ready to conquer the world, to be a rock star. I was convinced that there was nothing important enough to keep me there. There was respect from my peers that I couldn't contain. I was losing time. I wasn't famous yet. I was getting older. So I left. I was 22, already burdened with the weight of chasing success. Coming back home, I formed a new band and worked really hard to release and record our first and last album together. The band was called Snake Charmer. I got so obsessed with making this album, I worked most of my time for 9 months to finish it. It was my ticket to success. Shortly after it was out, we opened for a big rock band from Greece. I remember going on stage in front of 1,000 people and thinking, this is it. We made it. We hadn't, of course. That was a one-off show, and that opportunity never repeated in the future. Following that show, we gigged as much as we could. We wrote new material, but the truth was slowly sinking in. We were a rock band from Cyprus, and we couldn't see a way up from there. In the years that followed, I traveled a lot. Eventually, moved to England, got a music degree, wrote a lot of music, and throughout, the compelling need of becoming successful through music was dominating my reality. It was almost like a threat. But in England, between trivial jobs and desperate gigs, I found not success, but inspiration to write. And I wrote a lot. Falling in love also helped. The opening to my inner self, to the source, was widening bit by bit, and I could sense a presence that was pleasing and a flow. And as a student in Birmingham, I dived deep into myself and wrote and recorded my first solo album in just 6 weeks in a flow of inspiration. Moving to London, I formed a new band called Masters of Disguise and continued writing. We played all around England for 2 years. At the same time, I started organizing my own music nights, rebelling against money-thirsty promoters of the city. And around these nights, a nice music community started slowly building. But 6 years in London were getting the best of me. So as things weren't moving great with the band, I moved on. In May 2008, I traveled to Athens. I was going there to record some of my orphan songs with my friend Alex, who had just landed a job there in a recording studio. I was tired of expectation and ambition, and I was just going there to chill out and have some fun recording these songs. It felt great having people tending to my own music, Alex with the producing, the musicians that came into play, that some of whom I really admired. It was a new situation for me. And in a few weeks, something that felt like a side project was blooming into my first properly released record. It was released in 2009, and unexpectedly, that record that was made for fun and not seeking success was in all the end-of-the-year best album lists in Greece. It was called Girls, Ghosts and Gods. In the same year, another band that I formed in my London years, called Trio Tekke, which we played rembetiko music with, was releasing its first album, Tarangetika. That album that we recorded with one microphone in a bedroom went on to become one of the best-selling albums by a Cypriot act in Cyprus of the last 20 years. I caught myself thinking, is success happening when you're not looking? But again, my expectation was rising higher than the level of my accomplishments, making success feel impossible. At the tail end of 2009, I moved back to Cyprus, thinking that success was always a step ahead of me. Thinking more practically, with my now longtime friend and business partner, Andreas Stachonidis, we established Louvana Records, a record label and festival organizing team. Our goal was to create circumstances and opportunities that we didn't have growing up as musicians. We released records of our music as well as other local artists, something almost unheard of before, all produced and recorded by us in Andreas' very own studio. We created Fengaros Festival, the first 3-day outdoor summer festival in Cyprus. Eventually, that festival will give stage and opportunities to local artists to present and promote their music in an otherwise dry musical scenery, as well as hosting international acts from all over the world. Furthermore, we created Lefkosia Loop Festival, a niche music festival dedicated to the art of live looping. Later on, we started organizing a week-long workshop series in a rural village, offering alternative methods in music education. That was Fengaros Music Village. The work with Louvana Records was giving me purpose. Looking back, that sense of purpose was filling the gap that success never managed to fill. For the first time, I was working long-term with partners that I shared the same amount of will, drive, and imagination. And we were doing something not only to showcase our art, but the art of others. This newly found purpose and new way of working around music was fulfilling. At the same time, it helped me relax and bring new things in my writing and on stage. In 2015, I started playing solo shows, and eventually I decided to record an album under my real name. I thought I would cringe at in the past. I felt like I wanted to stop disguising my expression behind names and lay everything out. The album was called Now Happiness, a reminder, a collection of my findings and realizations, a personal confession to share with the world with courage, trusting that honesty will communicate. And it did. That album was recorded in only 1 month, as opposed to other albums I had done in the past. It seemed like when I stopped pushing and trying too hard to prove something, people stopped and listened more than ever. Unfortunately, that amazing sensation of fulfillment didn't stay with me. I reached a point again where I felt discouraged, disillusioned. I couldn't stand being me anymore. Again, lost. I couldn't oppose to anything or blame anyone anymore. It was just me and myself. And it was tough. With more than 20 festival editions, 11 records released on our label, 15 records that I myself released with various projects, I felt disoriented and unaccomplished. This abstention helped me realize that all along, I was looking for a permission to use the key that I already obtained, the key of acceptance of what is. The ideal story of success and happiness was crumbling down, and I understood that success was already happening, and that happiness was there, available in every moment. I just had to relax into it, to make peace with the fear, to accept vulnerability, embrace it, and celebrate it, to stop attacking myself with I must and the need to prove, to empathize with the world, to come into the world without resisting or doubting, free, to believe and embody the message of my work, to trust the process, to bridge my two worlds. During that time of realization, I would listen back to songs I had recorded, realizing that all the answers and the questions I was looking for, I had already written about, like messages from another world, forgotten or dismissed. I had written about the need for change on Now Happiness. I had identified a keeper of joy in Girls, Ghosts, and Gods. Things were making sense. I would always say that my records were like reminders, like notebooks available to everyone. But that time came that I would use them as such. And in that way, slowly, I started seeing the image of a bridge between two worlds. One being the everyday world, and the other, the timeless, creative world. Both as real, the outer and the inner. The conclusion I arrived at was that everyone needs to be heard. Every true voice wants to be uncovered from underneath the clutter, the pile of pillows that muffles it, and connect with joy and find ease. In February 2019, I released the album Beaming Light, an album I was working on for 2 years with a general theme of reconnecting with my inner child. And I had the best time making it. This is me. This is probably the freest I ever felt in my life. It's from the video for the song Astral Body that we just played with the band. When this video was released, the response was astonishing to me. I would have people I would have never expected coming up to me and sharing beautiful comments. It felt like it transcended some sort of limitation that we have in exposing and expressing ourselves publicly, and that resonated with people. Obviously, I haven't reached the goal that I so long to reach. My initial idea of success, unprecedented fame. But somewhere along the way, I realized that wasn't what my soul really wanted. Deep inside, to my core, I knew that what my soul ever wanted was to express myself, communicate, and share myself with others in any form. It's a fulfilling emotion I can finally contain and a feeling I can at last sustain. I feel like my life is just beginning. I feel like I can do anything I set my mind and heart on doing. Right now, I'm not urging you to go out there and be active and do things. I urge you to relax into stillness and acceptance. On that bridge between two worlds, the inner and the outer, where expectation hushes and comparison dissolves, safe to be just what we want to be, balancing the highs and lows harmoniously on a multicolored garland, wild and wonderful. And as Aldous Huxley beautifully puts it, not standing in our light. On that bridge where all experiences, dreamt or lived, are real. This is home. Thank you.